Hello, everybody. This is a presentation of the talk from last Thursday's meeting, Thursday evening meeting. That was on the 24th. I'm just looking on my phone here right now for the date. And some technical difficulties, so I didn't record the talk. So I'm just re-recording a version of it now. I didn't have wasn't really reading off a script or anything, so I'm just going to be reading out going from the main points. So, as you know, Stephen's gone away for the next 3 weeks to have some adventures in Chile, down in South America, and he asked me to cover, and it's my absolute pleasure to do so. So the title of the talk that I sent around in the weekly email to the listserv was I titled the talk "I, Caholics Anonymous." So I meaning capital I, which is I am doing something. So Alcoholics Anonymous #1, meeting suffering with radical friendliness. So I wanted to kind of link those two things together, and I'm just taking a look at setting up a time here so that I can have so I don't go over time and have a super long talk or go way under time. So what I mean by this, this sense of I, and also meeting suffering with boundless friendliness, or metta. So metta is the Pali word for boundless or unlimited friendliness or kindness, also known as loving kindness. Pali being the language of the Buddha. And first I thought I'd talk just a bit about this concept of the I, and this is what I mean by alcoholics. Kind of a takeoff from alcoholics and saying alcoholics, and the two are very related, actually, whether you're an alcoholic or whatever kind of caholic you are. We live in a world that really it's a world of suffering, and we suffer mainly through our sense of being addicted to things, so clinging to things out there or inside of us that we assign a sense of self, something that we see these things as being able to, first of all, having some sort of ability to operate independently of everything else and to either make us unhappy or happy. And not just talking about it's just happy for a few moments, but lasting happiness. And we think that we get into this delusional state that these things are certain things that we come across, whether it's our partner, or a certain kind of partner, or our partner that we have acting in a different way, or perhaps it's getting a certain type of job, or doing just the right things at work to get a promotion, or to make yourself and your boss satisfied, or maybe it's a house or a certain type of car, or going on a vacation somewhere. All of these things, assigning the sense of these things being an I, or a separate self from that's independent from everything else. And they kind of are these independent operators, and we also assign this to ourselves as well, our own kind of mind body, that we're independent operators, and that we are, and somehow when we get into that mind frame, we somehow think that we can control over our lives, and So in this mindset, when things go wrong, or they go not as we had hoped, we get deeply disappointed, and that causes a lot of suffering. So what the alcoholics thing, what I was getting at with that was this sense of self. And I came across, I was having lunch with a friend, and they happened to mention, his phrase, an eye for an eye makes the world go blind. And immediately in my mind, I thought, that's not just the eye, like an eye for an eye that makes the world go blind, like our actual physical eyes. It's actually replacing an eye, like this sense of self, of the separate self, an eye for ends up making the world go blind. And that this phrase, the eye for eye, making the world go blind, was attributed to Gandhi. It's not in any of his writings. It's only in people that wrote about his nonviolent approach that said Gandhi said this. So he might have said it verbally, but it wasn't written. So maybe he could have meant either way. Gandhi was a very spiritual being with a very deep meditation practice. So it makes me wonder. But regardless, the sense of someone, an eye for an eye in terms of our physical life, it's the idea that if someone were to take my eye, or to cause me to go blind in my eye, that things should be in place that they receive the same harm as some sort of punishment. That's my understanding. And the second part of the statement only ends up making the whole world go blind. What does that mean? So my sense is that it means that we have to look at who's actually responsible for the person actually taking someone's, hurting someone in the first place. The first person taking the other person's eye. Because really, it's if you look at it deeply, it's not just that single person that's responsible. That's assigning that person a sense of they're operating independently of everything else. So they are 100% responsible. They are the only cause of their actions. And that's not the way things are looked at. And even just looking at, not even thinking about Buddhism, but just looking at the world, everything is interconnected. There's not really, you can't really say that, this person was an independent operator and he went and killed or took someone's eye. There's a whole vast array of causes and conditions that lead up to that person's actions. And even if you look at our thoughts come, we don't really, they just come out of nowhere. They come out from this vast empty space of awareness, and they just pop up. And that includes all thoughts, including the thought to actually take an action. So there's this vast array of causes and conditions that go back our ancestors and our environment and our genetics, and going back generations, all the way back to the root causes of all of this around us. So I think that's what Gandhi meant with that eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind, because really we're all really responsible, because they were so interconnected. responsible for that man and the suffering that he's going through, to the point where he actually feels he needs to do harm to another person. And we're also responsible for the suffering of the person that actually was harmed. We're all responsible, and we're also blameless, because we're all affected by this vast array of causes and conditions that is beyond our control. So that's what I think, replacing the physical I with this sense of a separate I, goes along a similar line of conceptualizing this. We go through our lives, we assign a sense of a separate self, or a self as autonomous, the sense of autonomy to things that they are capable all on their own of making us happy and giving us, lasting happiness. But what ends up happening is, we get the partner we want and realize that they're not perfect, or get the job we want and we realize it's not really going to make us happy for a long time. And we just keep on replacing one self, one separate self, one I with another I. And this is the kind of delusional state that we live in this samsaric world, this world where we're caught up in this chain of origination, where causes and conditions determine what we experience. And it's completely beyond our control. So how can we take an eye for an eye when it's completely beyond everyone's control? It's something to think about. And I think this is a good point to bring in the concept of metta, of boundless kindness. Metta being the first of the four Brahma Viharas, or Brahma being, in Buddhist cosmology, a powerful deity, one of the three gods in the triune Godhead of and Vihara, originally translated as, it actually directly translates as monastery, but it's more like it's sort of like a residence or an abiding place. So we have fine or noble or sublime is another term we use, and abodes. So our noble abiding place. And these are thought to be the characteristics of an enlightened person, of someone in a state of bodhicitta. So enlightened mind, heart. So citta can be, it's mind, heart, kind of all having this sense of like this big essence that is the true nature of everyone. Enlightened mind, enlightened heart. So back to the eye for an eye. You see people doing things, harming themselves, harming others, trying to be or avoid suffering by clinging to things. This is how addiction happens. We cling to things, you're a workaholic or a shopaholic or alcoholic, or addicted to drugs, or addicted to relationships. It's all this sense of this being a separate self, things being separate selves. It's a process. I think I read in Ajahn Sumedho's book, Four Noble Truths, he calls it the selfing process. I think that's what I read about that. That's where these four Brahma Viharas, which metta is the first one, and then we have karuna, or compassion, we have which is appreciative joy, and eka, equanimity. I'm going to talk about the first one today, metta. And metta is really the foundational of all of these Brahma Viharas. It's kind of the basis. And it's actually the only of the four noble or divine abodes that has its own devoted sutta. And I was going to read a bit of the Metta Sutta, which is where metta practice originated from. So I'll read a bit of it. And we had a good question about this from one of the people that attended. So if you listen to the Q&A, there's there. But this is just a passage of it, just part of it. So the sutta. To reach the state of peace, one should reflect in this way. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings be happy-minded. Whatever living beings there may be, whether weak or strong, tall, large, medium, or short, small or big, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they, without exception, all be happy-minded. Let no one despise another or deceive anyone anywhere. Let no one, through anger or hatred, wish for another's suffering. This part, so I'll just read it. 4 more lines. As a mother would risk her own life, protect her child, her only child, so for all beings one should guard one's boundless heart. So we do these, we kind of, there's different ways of approaching metta. There's actually 2 different ways. So we do these practices to, it's really hard to say, to give an exact why, but there's different approaches that, and I think you'll understand better if I talk about the 2 kind of main approaches towards metta. The first being evoking metta simply by touching into the big mind, the vast open space of awareness, and really touching deeply. And when you do that, metta comes out, it flows out naturally. So it's like an evoking practice. So that's directly going into wholeness, and metta then coming and flowing and being evoked. So that's one of the kind of, I would say, the 2 kind of main branches of the practice. And so there's not really a fixed goal or reason with that sort of practice. You're really simply basking in the qualities of wholeness, of big mind. We have all these names for it's true. So it's really just our true nature just flowing through us. We don't really have to do anything at all. It's just noticing when it's happening. And then the second way, is more of a kind of incline, or yeah, I think inclining is probably the best word. Inclining our hearts and minds to the qualities of we want to bring more of into our lives. And I mean, the Brahma Viharas are perfect because these are the qualities of the chitta, of the enlightened mind heart. So we incline ourselves, and this is where the traditional metta practice is perfect, because we sit down, we get ourselves into a place of settling ourselves and settling into our bodies and our breath, and we're using our body and our breath as our anchor. And then that's when you bring in the words of metta, and then the words become our anchor. So so the ones that I usually use in my metta, when I do metta practice, is may I be healthy, may I be safe, and may I be free. And depending on what you're doing with the metta practice, you start bringing in other people. So traditionally, it's bringing in someone that you really care about. So it could be a child, like your child, or whoever, a really close friend. Then bringing in a benefactor, so someone that you really admire for the qualities of selflessness and compassion and kindness that they bring into the world through their life. It could be like a religious or spiritual leader. It could be, someone, a really creative person. Anyone that you feel kind of really feel touched by things they have done. To bring the qualities of metta into this world of goodness and kindness and boundless kindness and friendliness and compassion. And then you can start moving on to more people that are more neutral, like someone that that you really or that maybe you encounter regularly, that you don't really have a strong affection for them. You don't really have a dislike for them either. Just kind of someone that's neutral. Like, and I often have used my neighbor. We say hi to each other when we pass, and maybe exchange a few pleasantries, but we're not really involved in each other's lives, other than being neighbors. And then you when you feel ready, you can move on to someone that's a difficult person in your life, perhaps. It's a coworker you're having problems with, or a family member that you're having difficulties with. So as you're going along, you're getting to the point where this is the most. This is like the most. You're getting to increasing levels of difficulty of assigning kindness. And then after that, the traditional practice is then you send out metta to all beings, all sentient beings, known and unknown. So that's kind of the more of the second type of just kind of inclining your heart and mind towards the qualities of words, in this case metta. Um, so, um, and there's some other practices too that I would like to discuss. One is kind of and I I got a couple of these practices from this book by Christina Feldman called Boundless Heart. One is the is inclining our hearts towards kindness practice. So thinking of an event of a situation or event recently that happened where you really felt someone treated you with kindness. It doesn't have to be something big. It could be like, someone opened a door for you, or, someone helped you with your groceries at the grocery store or something. It's kind of an unexpected kindness that someone displayed towards you. And kind of, thinking of that or when you're sitting, or you could be standing, and thinking of that after you come into your breath, perhaps settle a little bit, and then bringing that individual and that event into mind, and then sending yourself the meta phrases. So may I be happy, healthy, safe, free, or you can use whichever phrases you would like. So it's that one's kind of like that practice is kind of bringing your own, kind of inclining your own heart towards kindness towards yourself. I think that's really important in our culture, because we really live in a culture where we're not really taught to show kindness for ourselves and to ourselves. In fact, we're taught usually that we are never good enough. So a lot of times, I think when you're starting with metta, it's you need to. It's the idea of filling your own cup, and then once your cup is filled, it can go out towards other people. And it's not linear like that either. Even if your cup isn't filled, you can still. There'll be times where you feel like, especially if you start inclining your heart towards it, that you can start seeing people in a different light, even seeing, complete strangers, or maybe even people that you feel aversion towards, seeing them as being fully deserving of unlimited friendliness and kindness, just as you are, just as we all are. We're all unabashedly deserving of unlimited friendliness and boundless kindness. So that's one practice I think is a useful starting point. Getting kind of inclining your. Yeah, I think that's about all I talked about at the night. I know that I was really careful not to leave a lot of time to talk, and it's getting up to 27 and a half minutes for this talk. So yeah, I'm gonna, next week, I think I'm going to probably talk about the next divine abode, so Luna or compassion. But we'll see. And we discuss that more in the discussion for this week. So I'm going to end it for now. It's a pleasure to have delivered this talk the first time, and then again a second time. Really, this is a wonderful honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be sharing this wonderful practice of metta and discussing these very interesting experiences. So thank you so much. I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you all soon. You take care. Bye.